Our oceans are places of immense wonder and intrigue. The deep blue is host to a huge range of species, from the great white shark to the tiny plankton. Each of these creatures are fascinating in their own way. However, sometimes things a little less ordinary are found at the bottom of the seas, and often on the surface too, which create mysteries rather than solve them. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 ocean discoveries and mysteries. The mystery wash-up on Ireland's shores. Ireland's grey mists, low visibility, and unnervingly tempestuous seas can become perilous for even the most experienced sailors. There have been countless stories of ships hitting Ireland's rocky shores. You need good knowledge of being a sailor to navigate through the North or Irish seas, as well as the raging Atlantic Ocean to the west of the island. This is a feat that's made all the more difficult when your boat doesn't have anybody on it. In 2016, an abandoned houseboat, most definitely not fit for ocean sailing, washed up on a beach in County Mayo, Ireland. The boat, made from driftwood and polystyrene with solar panels attached to the roof, caught the attention of locals, who called the Irish Coast Guard. The boat was entirely empty, but was fairly big. Somebody probably could have lived there, but it didn't look like they had done so for quite a while. The floating boat looked to be void of any sort of proper steering equipment or even motor. This baffled the Coast Guard, who began to look for clues. On the wall of the craft, they found a small message with the name Rick Small signed on it. Yet, when the authorities began to search for Mr. Rick Small, they were bemused to find that Small was actually from Newfoundland, Canada. The message read, "I, Rick Small, donate the structure to a homeless youth to give them a better life than Newfoundland chose not to do. No rent, no mortgage, no hydro." After doing some digging into this mysterious person, authorities found that he was a committed environmentalist who had worked on building solar-panelled, 3-wheeled bikes. After the press became interested in Small, more of his life came to light. Small had intended to sail the boat from Newfoundland to the Arctic to raise awareness for the melting polar ice caps. However, being unable to find a motor for the boat, he left the boat to drift. He anticipated it would simply sink in the vast Atlantic, and described his pride when he found the vessel had survived the 1,800-mile journey to Ireland. Volunteers from the area near Drum Beach in County Mayo refurbished the vessel in 2017. It's now on display in the community garden of a village a few miles from the beach on which it was found. Locals have reportedly invited Small to visit, but it's unknown whether he's taken up this offer. He plans to build another boat to complete his journey sometime in the future. The MV Lubov Orlova. Debts, lawsuits, near homelessness, and a sorry old ship make up the interesting story of Russian cruise ship the MV Lubov Orlova. Part of an octuplet of sister ships built in 1976, the ship was named after a Soviet actress named Lubov Orlova. The ship was chartered for trips to Japan, and after extensive renovations at the turn of the millennium, she was used for Antarctic trips with a company named Quark Expeditions. According to former staff, both the company and customers were happy with the service the ship provided, and it was again chartered nearly 30 years since she was built. However, after an investigation into the ship's seaworthiness, a list of deficiencies built up, and Transport Canada effectively grounded the boat until further notice. This was because the ship was in Canadian waters at the time of the claim. However, disputes over credit repayments and loans accumulated against the ship's owner, the Lubov Orlova Shipping Co. It was the owner of the ship's then contractor, Cruise North. He knew that if the ship left St. John's Harbour in Canada for its final cruise season without any payment from the parent company, he may never see the money he was owed for the repairs. Wells filed a lawsuit against the company for $250,000, but this was disputed by the defence. Over a year later, the boat remained in St. John's Harbour, sitting as collateral for the debt. Yet by this time, other companies had also filed lawsuits against the owners, and the Russian company owed around $2 million to various people. The crew of the boat were also unpaid, and given that their Canadian visas only allowed them to live and work on the ship, they were effectively stuck on board. After some time, the Russian government paid for flights back home, whilst Canadian locals offered food and supplies to the crew. The Russian owners of the ship then sued every crew member who got home to Russia for technically abandoning the ship. Nearly 3 years after the ship was seized by authorities, it was tugged out to sea. There, it broke away from the tug and was left adrift in the Atlantic. Today, it's presumed sunk. Now, the ship itself may have been a source of pleasure over many years, but its background story was actually quite dark. It was bought by 2 men, both named Oleg. The first Oleg was actually a Russian anti-police corruption officer, who along with the other was smuggling cars into Russia. Whilst under the pair's ownership, they allegedly held a group of passengers hostage on the ship on a voyage. He wanted to scare and shake down his passengers for around $20,000 in docking fees he was owed. Despite never being criminally charged for his actions, this was only one of the Oleg's many illicit activities. The pair were actually on the international most wanted list for a period of time, and even stayed in international waters on the ship to evade capture. It's difficult to figure out what happened to one, however, the other Oleg declared himself bankrupt in 2018. All of the businesses that they owned have since been liquidated. As for the ship, some say it's a cannibal rat-infested ship, and others think it's sitting somewhere at the bottom of the Atlantic, taking its secrets with it. The mystery of the Kaz II. In 2007, a yacht was spotted drifting aimlessly off Australia's northeastern coast. Dubbed the Ghost Yacht, it later transpired that the vessel was named the Kaz II and had a crew of 3 men. It set off from Queensland, Australia, and was headed for Townsville, also in Queensland, on the first leg of a journey to sail part the way around Australia. Manned by its 3-man strong crew of Derek Batten, age 56, Peter Tunstead, age 69, and James Tunstead, age 63, they left on what would have been a routine voyage. But on April 18th, 3 days after they'd left, it seemed there was a problem. The Kaz II was spotted by a helicopter drifting near the Great Barrier Reef. And 2 days later, on April 20th, maritime authorities boarded the boat. However, everything seemed completely normal, with all equipment fully functional. The only thing that was strange was the absence of the crew members and a badly shredded sail. Bewildered as to how this could have happened, a formal forensic investigation began. But a myriad of questions still surrounded the strange circumstances under which the yacht was found. There was no evidence that suggested foul play, nor that the men had staged the disappearance. A gun was found on board the ship, but it hadn't been used, and all ammunition was stored away. GPS data showed the investigators that the seas had been choppy on the morning the group set sail. In video footage recovered from the boat, it appeared none of the men had life jackets on. Investigators began to realise it was likely a freak accident that had occurred, and nearly a year later, a ruling by Australian coroner pieced together events. He reported that one of the Tunstead brothers had tried to untangle a fishing line from the yacht's propeller and fell into the ocean. The other brother fell in trying to rescue him. Derek Batten was then knocked over by the heavy boom swinging across the deck in poor conditions while trying to get to the other 2 men. Once the men were in the water, it would have been near impossible for them to get back onto the yacht. It was likely then that the 3 men perished there. We all love the ocean, the beach, and going for a swim or a cruise under the hot summer sun. However, the sea can clearly be an extremely dangerous place, and that's not just in terms of the actual water. So what do you make of these ocean mysteries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and help us by growing this community, whilst working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.